Joining me live now is the Shadow Foreign Minister, Simon Birmingham. Thanks for your time. You were critical of the Prime Minister earlier in the day when it appeared he wouldn't be attending. Are you encouraged now by this news that he could still well be taking up that invitation from NATO to attend the talks in Lithuania?
Well, hello, Kieran. It's good to be with you. Look, the question for Anthony Albanese should be a really quick and easy one in terms of responding to an invitation to attend the NATO Leaders Summit, and that is it should be a quick and fast yes from the Prime Minister. There shouldn't need to be any hesitation, and because of two key reasons. The failure to attend, if he did not go, would both send the wrong signal and be a missed opportunity. What do I mean by that? Well, firstly, in terms of the wrong signal, it would suggest that somehow there was a level of fatigue setting in relation to Australia's support for the defence of Ukraine against Russia's illegal and immoral invasion. We should be going to the NATO Leaders Summit, represented by our Prime Minister, armed with a new and comprehensive package of support for Ukraine across military, humanitarian and other assistance to make sure that we continue to defend the rules-based order where it is under direct threat at present by Russia through their invasion of Ukraine. And the missed opportunity is perhaps an even more significant one for the long term, in that NATO has clearly sent a signal through its invitation to the AP4 countries, Australia, New Zealand, Japan and South Korea, that they want to embed an ongoing form of dialogue into our region. And that's such a huge opportunity for us to ensure that particularly European democracies have a security dialogue with Australia and the countries of our region that enhance their focus on awareness of and understanding of the strategic challenges in our region. And we should be seeking to embed that as part of NATO's routine of business. And that means the Prime Minister should absolutely be there this year to secure that for the future.
Yeah, he could well still be there. As I said, no decision made is the advice that I've been given today. Now, on the China thaw, the Albanese government pausing the World Trade Organization action, is that the right move if China does remove those tariffs, as looks likely now?
Well, it's an important part of this, and it's important to understand the what's in it for China part of that equation. The World Trade Organization claim that Australia made to make sure we had an international legal ruling through the WTO that China's tariffs on Australian barley were invalid and should never have been imposed in the first place is one that the previous government initiated, and we provided additional funding to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to undertake that action and to ensure that it was an effective claim through the WTO. And it is just about to be handed down. So it provides significant leverage at this point in time for China, who probably don't want to see that ruling made. And now, of course, we'd always rather see the quick removal of these tariffs that should have never been put in place in the first place and were an attempt of economic coercion by China. And the government absolutely should use what leverage it has to have the tariffs on barley and on wine removed against Australia, so that China is then upholding the free trade agreements that it's entered into with us in spirit and in letter.
So obviously they're the areas in your responsibility right now as Shadow Foreign Minister, but now let's move to The Voice, as of course you're the leading moderate in the opposition. Julie and Lisa quit the front bench. Will you follow suit and quit the front bench over The Voice?
That's not my intention, Kieran. Julian has a long and deep history on this issue, and I have nothing but respect for Julian and the highest of regard for the knowledge and thought that he brings to the debate of this issue, and I will continue to listen very carefully to what he has to say and to how he engages on the topic. And I would urge the Prime Minister and the government to do likewise. Julian is calling for there to be changes to the way this is put to the Australian people. He brings enormous integrity to those calls, and the government would do well, if it wants to maximise the chances of success of this referendum, to actually listen carefully to what Julian is saying and to engage in the type of changes that he is advocating for.
Will you campaign for a no vote?
Well, it's equally not my intention. My intention is to respect the Australian people who will go about this referendum applying their judgment to the issues that are before them at the time. I recognise that there are different opinions in relation to the arguments for the voice and against, and then particularly different opinions in relation to the detail, and I share many of those concerns around aspects of the detail. The key proposition here is how much needs to be put in the Constitution versus ensuring you achieve the aim of recognition, which is something that I've always supported and that the Coalition continues to support. There is then the proposition to achieve recognition via a voice, but if you go too far, as the government has in seeking to define elements of that voice through the Constitution, then you create additional constitutional risks highlighted now by Julie and Lisa, as by Greg Craven and others, notwithstanding their support for the overall proposition. So that's where I think it is crucial, if we're to achieve the best possible outcome from this, possible reconsideration across the political divide in terms of the challenges here, the government needs to take stock of a significant personal decision that somebody with such a long commitment to this topic as Julie and Lisa has, and think long and hard about what he is advocating in terms of a better pathway to achieve this.